It's season 18. It's episode 25. I was talking about Todd Greenberg before the break. There was another bit as we get into a little bit of what's going on in the franchise world. So the Big Bash League sell-off that we talked about last week, the fact that a report's come back from a consulting group saying that they could and should potentially sell off minority stakes in the 8 teams to get a bunch of cash through the door. Greenberg's being very careful about this. He's not saying that they will do it. He's saying they have got the report because they have to explore all the options. They have a responsibility to see whether it's a good choice or whether it's a bad choice. There's opposition to it, particularly out of Victoria. Nick Cummins, who's very feisty as the head of Cricket Victoria, is saying, well, don't do it unless you know that it's going to be a really good option. But there's the risk that you can only sell something once, right? So and once you do that, you effectively cede control of it, which is sort of what's happening in England at the moment, which we'll come to in a minute. But Dan Breddick's been doing more detailed reporting on this and so on. So there's going to be a big spruik basically during the Ashes. Greenberg said he's already had people in his inbox trying to buy the teams. He's like, we're not selling yet. We haven't said we're going to sell. We're just looking at whether we might think about doing it. But they will have some people out during the Ashes, some real rich bigwigs to basically use the Ashes hype to try to get them excited about the idea, to see what sort of money they might be able to drum up if they decide to go that way. I mean, it seems inevitable it'll happen at some point. I just don't know if this is the point. But there's the sense that you get from cricket administrators that everyone else is doing it or has done it basically, and now's the time and we're going to get left behind if we don't jump now. But maybe holding out would drive the price up. I don't know. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of whining and dining and schmoozing and flattering and bullshit and money over the coming Ashes summer.
Very much so. And all the corporate boxes will be booked. Some of those owners, some of those IPL owners, I think the Delhi guys were in Australia during the last summer. They allegedly had meetings of, I don't know of what nature, but they did come sniffing around, scouting to see if there's any interest. And I'm surprised that it's taken this long for Todd Greenberg to start receiving emails with, like, even before he put the for sale sign. Because it's such a it's such hot property in terms of the cricketing calendar, that BBL window. So it's just people have been waiting, people with a lot of money, waiting to invest in it because they know it'll sell. The time of the day as well, where most people will be watching in India, which wherever cricket is played, that those are the numbers that count a lot. As well, it's December, so holiday period in India as well, Christmas break. So I think it just seems like a matter of time. And now it's never been this loud, right? The noise around private investment coming into Australian cricket and taking over the BBL. But it is interesting reading some of those quotes from Nick Cummins about, like, Victorians, us, we stand proudly, and we don't want. And I think his point is a good one. He doesn't want. He only wants people with good interest for Australian cricket to come and be involved with Australian cricket. But the people who will come in will probably try to aid Australian cricket, but they will come. It's a business. Whatever money they put in, they'll want the relevant returns or the kind of returns they want from it. So it'll be interesting. But it just feels that inevitability has hit fever pitch, and it's just going to happen. Maybe this is the last summer of the BBL as we know it, and maybe by next year we will be talking about private ownership. You think so? What it looks like?
More to the point, they'll want control, and that's what we've seen happen in the 100. So 6 of the sales have gone through for the 100 clubs. There are 2 yet to close. Supposedly that's all in hand and is just a formality and so on, although, believe it when I see it. But there was a lot of hard negotiating. So some of the clubs have sold 49%, one sold 50%, one sold 70%, one sold 100%. Unclear sort of what that means in terms of control locally, but basically on the central board, the owners now have power. They've got more seats. If they vote as a block, they will outvote the ECB reps on anything, which means that it will almost certainly be a T20 comp very soon, maybe as early as next year. Their franchise owners, they want consistency in their product across the world. The 100 ball format was always a gimmick. It was always, it honestly, it looked fucking ridiculous from the beginning, I think, and we banged on about that a lot at the time. There's always the fig leaf that, it's getting funding and exposure for women's cricket. That could just as easily have happened with a T20 format. It didn't have to be a 100-ball format. So the people who pump up the 100 on that basis, it doesn't really hold up. But, it's interesting to try to figure out what that money means. They've got 500-odd million pounds, but that's divided across 18 counties, the MCC. There are different levels of payouts going to anybody. So, a few tens of millions here and there can get spent very quickly, and a bunch of it's supposed to be invested into recreational cricket. And so does it just get spent? Is there actually a world where that investment then creates future value? I'm very skeptical about that, and I think it's more likely that money will be pissed away, and in 10 years' time there'll be nothing to show for it. But that's the thing is that those owners are now driving how that league is going to work forever. They own it.
Yeah.
And that's and it's like I watched Sinners the other night, Michael B. Jordan's movie, and you always got to remember that vampires can't come in until you invite them, but once you invite them, you can't uninvite them. If you ask them to come through the front door of the juke joint, then whatever happens after that is much less likely to be in your control. So
there's no room for seller's remorse. There's
seller's remorse is too bad.
Too bad. Sorry.
And is private capital? Is it fair to equate them with vampires? Well, most of the time, yes. This private equity is a incredibly destructive force in the world that we exist in, and there are a lot of people who could not give a shit about the long-term viability of things as long as they can come in and make some cash out of it. So I think they want to tread very carefully when it comes to control, particularly because even if those owners don't own majority stakes, they will still have a vast amount of influence, and the structuring of things will matter there. In terms of there's talk about the window, about the fact that they want all the Australian national players to be available. This seems an odd one to me. I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, because you always hear this, they can't have it overlapping with tests because they want the big stars available. How much of a difference would it really make? Like, how many players in a test team? There might be 6 of the 11, maybe 7 who would be real big bankable stars in T20 cricket. But no one's going to lose their mind going, I can't wait to switch on because Marnus Labuschagne's going to be batting for the Brisbane Heat, and I cannot miss a ball of that. I can't miss a ball of Bo Webster turning out for Hobart. Like, you've got your big names. You've got Smith and Cummins and Stark and Head, and they're probably the only ones out of that main 11 who would really be excitement drivers, I reckon. But interested in your thoughts.
I think it's more a question around the fast bowlers, isn't it? Like, so Steve Smith, when you say if the test series finishes today, if you're a batter, not just Steve Smith, Head, all the same, and the BBL, the way it looks with private ownership, starts in 2 days' time, there's going to be no problem. I think it'll be a question of what you do, because the argument is one of the main reasons Australia, Cummins, Stark and Hazelwood, apart from having incredible genes and incredible setup around them in terms of strength and conditioning, have been so resilient for so long, is that Australia have managed them well, and the BBL, and they've not had to bother about the BBL. But I guess the way they'll look at it, the private owners, that is either they can probably create a window where they get most out of these players. Is it not that they play the whole tournament, but enough of it for it to make a difference? Because the BBL is not going to go on. It's not like the IPL, which will go on for 70 days,
months.
Right? Yeah, the BBL is at best a month. So I'm sure they'll be able to squeeze enough out of whatever they want. And also, don't forget, it's not going to start this year. By next year, you're already looking at, Josh Hazelwood, Mitchell Stark towards the end of their careers. You're looking at future players by then, at that point. Or maybe even for it to happen next year seems a little far-fetched, because things don't happen so quickly. It could. But it if anything, it'll take at least 2 years for them to come in. or even for it to be official.
It'll be end of 2027
Mm,
at soonest, and that'll be
yeah.
after that Ashes, which means everyone who's going to retire will have retired by then.
Yeah, and Pat Cummins probably would be the lone man standing
Yeah.
because of his age at that point, and even he would probably be
And he
at
might
the.
pack it up in,
He might,
when do a
27.
trip to England in 27, he'd be 33 or
34, I
4.
think, 34, yeah, 33, 34. And, he would have played so much cricket non-stop for 10 years since coming back in 2017. So, and I know, knowing Pat and his interests and his love for his family and how much time he wants to spend with them, he could be in a position where he decides to just. So, I think too many people are focused on this current team and this current lot. It's not going to happen immediately, right? Like, you could look at it and argue that what about the future? I mean, the Lance Morrises of the world, will they be able to be protected the same way Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark were? I don't think it'll be possible because the world that they will be a part of will look so different. World of cricket that is. So, so it's interesting how it'll play out, but you're right. I mean, the bona fide stars are these guys at the moment. But going forward, there'll be more Tim Davids doing the rounds who will matter more, like the Mitch Owens and the Tim Davids. Won't be so much. You would think so. There would be the odd three-format genius player, right? If Constance becomes what...
That's what I'm getting at. So out of your Australian 11, I reckon it's 3 or 4 who are really box office in a T20 sense.
Yeah.
So why get so worked up about, like, why build the entire schedule around the fact that these players must be available for the whole T20 league? It just seems
no,
overkill.
but that's again coming from just people making assumptions of what these private owners would want. Like, it could be there could be other windows they might look at.
This is the noise around it. Is that the main problem with the Big Bash from a private point of view is that it overlaps the Test summer too much, and that they don't get access. And Australia's broadcasters have always complained about this. And remember Seven trying to sue Cricket Australia to get money back because the best players weren't available in the Big Bash. But honestly, how much does it matter if Usman Khawaja's playing Big Bash or not? I just can't see how it's that much of a difference the rest of the time. But anyway, the 100 is happening. There was a fair bit of friction for Richard Gould, the chair, when he was asked about the evidence of transfer of fans from the 100 to Test cricket, and he said there was no evidence of it. What that actually meant was that they haven't done any reporting on it. So there were people saying, aha, look, this is proof that it doesn't work. Well, it's not proof that it doesn't work because there just isn't any proof. But the criticism should probably be that they haven't done any reporting on it when the whole sell for the 100 was it's going to be the gateway to get people interested in cricket. And then they're like, oh, we're several years in and we literally haven't asked a single person that question to see whether there has been any. So, not super impressive in terms of structural governance there. But also, how can you expect people to go from the 100 to Test cricket when it's like a few bucks to go to a 100 game and then it's 200 quid to go try to get a ticket to Lord's to watch a high-profile match? The audiences just don't tally up. If we look at I can't really look at the 100 in terms of what happened on the field because I haven't watched any of it because that's the position we've come to with domestic T20s, which is we just can't do it.
Yeah, I will say this. I just before we started recording, I read Barney Rone's piece, and he's always such a funny writer, a fun writer. It's always fun reading him. So it's an interesting take on the 100, right? Like, it's like this gimmicked up doll which is just there to be sold off, and what you were saying earlier, that it might not stay, the format might just die away. And it really, for 4 years in, it really hasn't caught the. I don't live in England, and I've not been around the 100 when it's happened in England. So I'm not even talking about what's happening in England, but it really hasn't caught on around the world, right? Like nobody. No. I don't know many people are outside England who watch it. So even people in India, it's not really caught on there, which is kind of surprising considering how cricketing things generally go viral in India before anywhere else. And then there's the whole confusion of, I was reading today, David Warner broke some record, and he's in the top T20 runs. But he's playing, but the runs in the 100 count as T20 runs, and it's all
They count,
they count as
format-wise,
format-wise.
Association of Cricket statistician-wise, they count as T20 runs because a T20 innings can also be 16.4 overs long with rain reductions. Although in that sense, a one-day innings can be 20 overs. So
When it's curtailed.
if you have a rain-reduced 20-over ODI innings, does that count as a T20?
It just it's like one of those. It almost feels like a TV show that a few people are watching, but it's not really it's really not caught on, and you do wonder.
Yeah,
there are these some TV shows I don't know. There must be someone watching it. That's why it's happening.
Right.
That's why they have season 4 of it.
Yeah. And we know some people who are watching it who are very enthused about it, but it's like, a bunch of your friends are watching this cult TV show that not many people are into, but they're super into it, and so they assume that it's more popular than it actually is.
You give it a go, and you're like, it's not for me, but I'm not going to stop someone from watching it. But it's I've tried watching it, but it just hasn't caught my fancy.
I'm happy for people to have a nice time. And if they're enjoying it, that's great. Grace Harris is enjoying it. She's making runs. London Spirit is the Lord's team. They're on top of the women's ladder at the moment. The Oval team was top of the men's, last night anyway, when I looked at that. David Warner's making runs there, although Sonny Baker is quite a prospect. Put the wind up Warner when he was bowling quick. At him the other night. He's one of Adam's picks. Got to play for England sometime soon, so we'll wait and see on that.
Is he ahead or behind Dan Worrell in the queue? Is all I want to know.
He might have leapfrogged Dan Worrell at the moment, although Dan Worrell took wickets in the county round. David Warner also just fled the Cayman Islands. Speaking of T20 comps, not even T10 comps, the max 60, if you will, absolute shambles. The last 8 games were abandoned, including the finals. And this has been coming. This has been in the works for a while, I think. It almost happened at the Canadian League a couple of years ago. It's been brewing that at some point players are going to crack the shits and leave when they're not getting paid, and that's what they're saying happened. The organisers are saying they had paid the payments they were supposed to. It sounds dubious. The word from the players is they were supposed to get half of their fee up front 30 days before the tournament, and that most of them hadn't got that at all. The organisers then came out and said, no, we pay. There are supposed to be 3 lots of payment, not 2, and we paid the first one, but whether they did or they didn't, it seems less likely that they did, put it that way, because the international players at this tournament organised a walkout, and basically the local players agreed to strike with them because they couldn't play without them. So, there's a lot of cowboy stuff in this short form cricket world, but this is the highest profile one in terms of having players like Warner on the books. And I suspect if he thought he was going to get paid, David Warner would have stuck around. But I can't see him walking out on a payday.
No, and he's also loyal in that sense, right? He went back to Pakistan for the PSL to finish it. So, when he commits to something, from what we've seen in like T20 league cricket or in that world, he does stick with it till the end. But a lot of players didn't go back to Pakistan after, the scary scenes there when they came back, but he did. So, if he didn't stick around, and we've seen some crazy scenes in some of these T20 leagues, the 3rd, 4th tier ones. Wasn't there one where teams were stuck in the hotel and they weren't allowed to leave, or there was some team stuck in the bus? And it's a fascinating world out there if you are one of those players, and who has to do because I remember as a junior journalist covering the what do they call the really low level ATP tournaments, and you'd find these tennis players who lead nomadic lives. They don't stay in hotels, they stay in dorms and just fly around the world playing in random places like Bombay at that point. It's similar now. It's become that in T20 league, T10 league cricket. Every country seems to have a T10. Countries that we haven't heard about in a cricketing sense. I'm surprised Indonesia doesn't. After our great story time, maybe there is an Indonesian ICL T20. This is crossover with Story Time and the Final Word Weekly. But yeah, I don't know who's playing there and whether players do get paid.
They would go. If you could put a Balinese T10 on, all the Australians would go.
All the Australians would go for sure. Yeah, don't forget the flag. And I still have 9 days to go before.
Could just be the big Bali League. Yeah. Maybe the foreign investors can just take the Big Bash offshore.
I think that's a great idea. Maybe that's
we'll
what it should be.
Team. We'll have a Chengdu team.
We'll
have an Ubud team. Be super chilled out. I'm going to give you the very short county highlights because I'm just going to tell you some things that I think you might find interesting or amusing because there were a few that stood out along the way. They played the last of their midsummer round just as the Oval Test was starting, so we haven't caught up with this, and red ball cricket is more our go than white ball. So Surrey went to Durham, bowled them out for 153, got a big lead and won, which means they stay top of the table and they've got a little gap on Nottingham now, Nottinghamshire. Dan Lawrence made runs. Ashes squad, Dan Lawrence, maybe sort of burbling in the vicinity. They like
floats around. Last time around, I did I have just because you mentioned Dan Lawrence. I was staying in this place for the Hobart Test in a town called Richmond. Beautiful town, but it was quite far away, half an hour drive. I'd rented a car, I'll remember. And I thought I was cut off from everyone. All cricket journalists, cricket media, cricketers. I'd become like the talk of the town. I was like the people in the pub were talking about this strange guy staying in this postman's house and all that. And then randomly Dan Lawrence came there with his partner and stole my thunder. Like, not that anyone recognized him, but I just opened this window and he was walking right outside my window, and I was like,
yeah,
like my great plans of escaping cricket and cricketers were brought to an end by Dan Lawrence. And he went to the same cafe that I was going and took my seat, and I've always been upset with him since then. So yeah.
You talk about Australians not recognising the opposition players. Like,
there you go.
How many Australians are going to be like, is that Dan Lawrence in Richmond, Tasmania? Maybe. Knots are in second place. They got a draw, so there's a little gap there. They made 544. Talking of Ashes squads, Hasib Hamid made 208.
No,
he's not going to be floating around in contention, but he's making bulk runs. I think he's top run scorer in Div 1, I think. He's well over 1,000 for the season so far. They had to make those runs, so they had to go big and draw because Somerset had already made 438. James Rue, who probably will be in that squad, made another big 166. 156 for Tom Abel. Why is Lewis Gregory opening the batting? I don't know. He's captain now, so he's just opening the batting and opening the bowling.
Wow.
Classic all-rounder energy. A bunch of boring big scores. Essex made 600. Warwickshire made 485. Draw. Yorkshire made 549. Sussex can't bat, so they lost by an innings. If John Simpson doesn't make runs, nobody does. There was a good draw, though, and this may interest you. Okay, this is some nice niche stuff. Worcestershire, Hampshire, right? Hampshire make 293. Worcestershire make 249. Close game on the first innings, right? And then Scooter Libby, Jake Libby, for Worcestershire, opening, carries his bat, makes exactly 100 even, not out, carries his bat through the innings. Lovely. Sonny Baker, the aforementioned quick, 5 for 72. Hampshire make 313 and declare 7 down. They haven't made 100 in either innings, but they've made runs. 358 to win. Scooter Libby comes out, goes for it on the last day. His first innings, he made 100 in 235 balls. Second innings, 106 in 122. No. So he's out within the first 40 overs of the chase. First innings strike rate of 42. Second innings strike rate of 86. But has anyone ever made twin centuries and carried their bat in the same first-class match?
Wow.
I have my doubts.
And also
carrying the bat doesn't happen that often.
No, not really. Not anymore. And also double their strike rate in the second innings to their first innings. If you want to add that to
that one would be harder to pin down historically. But, if Andrew Sampson's listening, twin tons and a bat carry in the same game for an opener, let me know. Anyway, they didn't make the runs, but they did hold on for a draw. They were 303 for 8 in the end, 55 runs short. Second division, here's some spicy shit. Leicestershire, never been promoted, never been kissed, still top of the league after they have this weird draw with Kent. So, weird things that happen in this, Bharat. Rayan Ahmed makes another 100 at first drop.
Ooh.
He's made 5 centuries for the season.
Ashes squad.
And he's nowhere near the top run scorers. He's the top century maker, but not near the top of the run scorers. Right? So he goes bigger, he goes home. The last wicket partnership was worth 108. Josh Hull supporting Tom Scriven. Tom Scriven at number 10, LBW for 99.
Oh,
so the number 10 almost turned up after the number 3, who used to be a number 10, did turn up. Right. They make 471. This is Leicestershire, while 8 players bowl to them. Like basically the other team's just gone, fuck it, we'll just bowl everybody. Among that, Matt Parkinson, who only bowls 34 overs out of 114, so it's not like he's at one end bowling all day. He takes 7 for 137 in amongst 8 players bowling. He takes all the wickets. Right. Very Titch Freeman energy, though. Take a bag, go for heaps. And then Kent bat, then day 3 gets washed out. So day 4 is just a net. There's nothing to be achieved on day 4. So 10 Leicestershire players bowl. Pete Hanscom, who has the gloves and his captain, is the only one who spares himself the indignity of bowling, as they just roll them down and Kent make 445 for 8. Bunch of weird stuff going on there.
18 bowlers, that has to be in 2 completed innings. 18 out of 22 players bowling. That has to be could be quite a stat. I mean, there have been test matches where a lot of guys. I remember that famous one in Antigua in 2002 where I think Ridley Jacobs bowled. Ajay Ratra made 100, and Ridley Jacobs bowled, and everybody bowled, but or was it Ajay Ratra who bowled? One of them bowled.
Ajay Ratra bowled. Yeah,
Ajay Ratra bowled.
It's one of the ones where all 11 bowled.
That's true. Yeah, but I think, and even for West Indies, everybody bowled except Ridley Jacobs. So, but in 2 innings in a first class game, 18 bowlers. Andrew Sampson has a busy weekend ahead.
It's a busy day ahead. So elsewhere, Glamorgan beat Lancashire. They're second in Division 2. They made 261 at Old Trafford, so they're away. Chris Green for the home side took 6 for 82. So he's making hundreds, and now he's taking bags. But if you looked at that and went Chris Green 6 for spinner's pitch, well, you were right when Mason Crane rocked up, the lawyer. 6 for 19 in 10.2 overs. Mason Crane. Wow. So Lancashire were 107 for 3 at home, going okay. Then Marcus Harris gets out to Mason Crane, and they lose 7 for 30 to get bowled out, and he takes 6 in 10 overs. And then Glamorgan rack up a score. Final word fave, Kieran Carlson makes 100 after having made 77 in the first innings. Chris Green takes another 3. Jimmy Anderson 2 for 35 from 10. Very Jimmy. Gets both openers out, of course. And then, it takes a fair bit of work to bowl out Lancashire, but they do it. Mason Crane takes another 3 for 107. So both of the 6 for bowlers got 3 for in the second innings and didn't get a 10-wicket match. And then Middlesex played the Freaks, Gloucestershire. Both teams made 400. It rained. It was a draw. Kane Williamson made a ton. Nothing much happened. Bancroft made 58. And there was a draw for Northamptonshire and Derbyshire after 550 for 9, a game in which the number 7 and the number 8 both made hundreds. And then when Derbyshire were batting, the number 7 made 100. And Yuzvendra Chahal took 6 for 118, another Titch Freeman analysis, lots of wickets, lots of runs. That's it. That's the weird stuff out of county cricket.
Yeah, they aren't lying because a few times during their India-England series, Michael Atherton in particular, I heard him say there's a very run-heavy summer in England, dry summer in terms of weather, but lots of runs. And clearly, so many big scores, so many hundreds.
I think this is a Kookaburra round as well, and the Kookaburra's been leading runs this season especially.
Crazy. It's just so many hundreds. And I mean, if this wasn't the Bazball era, it'd be like, England are spoiled for options when it comes to...
Spoiled for choice.
Spoiled for choices, like selectors' headache, good headache to have. But sadly, I mean, making all these runs doesn't count because they'll go and pick someone who averages 12 but has a strike rate of 118. Yeah, whose highest score is 43. but they'll pick him in the Test squad to bat at number 3. So that's the England.
You're literally describing Jacob Bethel. Like they've already picked him.
and I'm surprised. That's the thing, right? I mean, people, obviously we've all romanticized about that Test match at the Oval, but I can't believe he got away with that shot. I mean, whatever you can paint it in whichever way you want. Young cricketer has a long way to go. He'll learn from it. He'll only become a better player. But it has to be one of the worst shots I've seen in the situation that team was in. I mean, should he have been playing? Maybe not. But the fact that he was there replacing Ben Stokes as well. Oof.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll make a double 100 at the MCG. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know. He made a few in New Zealand, but what that means, who is to tell? All of that is ahead of us. That's it. That's us. Bharat, thank you. It has been a pleasure, as always, to have your company. Thank you, constant listener, for being out there in the land of podcasts. There would be no point doing this if you weren't listening to it. If you're listening to this and you want to get involved and be part of what we do, patreon.com/thefinalword, Patreon. That is where you can support the show and help us keep doing what we're doing. And if you want to support our charity partner, the Lord's Taverners, who help thousands and thousands of kids every year by getting them involved in cricket-related activities, kids in living with disability or in disadvantaged situations, come along to our game at Wormsley if you're in the UK on Monday the 18th. And if you can't make it, send a donation to the Tavs if you can spare it. We'd love you to think about doing that. Everything else is in the show notes, your NordVPN link, your Maurice Blackburn information. Bharat Sundaresan, has been a pleasure to see your smiling face.
Absolute pleasure here as well. And just remember, boys and girls, if you're listening to this, don't no-ball a bowler if you haven't heard him or her say right arm over after the first ball. It's your responsibility as an umpire to find out and let the batter know, not his.
Yes,
or
you should have asked. you should have asked.
Yeah, because he doesn't come out in anyhow. Don't get me started. And also, if you are playing gully cricket in Ghatkopar, beware. You can get barred for abusing the umpire from the batter's end, and if you're appealing for a caught behind, it doesn't matter whether the ball hit the bat or not. It depends on where it pitched.
Yes, you can't be out if it's. Was he saying it was too short?
I don't know. Yeah, he I don't know. He just pointed at a point on the pitch and said it landed here, and everybody said yes. Then not out. Yeah. It's very similar.
Every uncle needs his time in the sun.
Every uncle does.
It's classic uncle. Like uncles have to give advice. It's like you're fixing your scooter on the side of the road. Well, obviously 10 uncles have to come and stand around.
And
watch, then tell you why you're doing it wrong, and then tell you about a scooter that they had when they were young.
The Chetak, yes, of course.
Yeah. It's the world of uncles. There's a great Italian word for it. I can't remember what it is, but for the old men who walk around and stare at construction sites, and they just tell builders what they should be doing differently. You got to have something to do. Everybody needs a hobby. Luckily, we have a cricket podcast.
We do.
It's been the final word. We will see you next time.